Check this out. JuJu Watkins is going to be an absolute superstar. Women's Hoops Network, they do a great job, by the way. And the original video from P. Money Walker. This is JuJu at the Sparks game. And this is super cool to see because it's another testament to the growth and explosion in the women's game. Because JuJu is going to be followed and people are going to rally around her and watch her college career and then watch her go to the pros. Obviously, she's playing at USC, so there's a Cali base there. But nonetheless, she's super exciting to watch too. You know, it's like I said with Caitlin Clark. Caitlin is super exciting to watch, and that's the number one thing. JuJu's like that. Like, she's so strong. You know, that boogie she's got off the dribble, but it's her strength that impresses me. She can shoot, she can take it to the cup, and she's strong. And she's getting shown love from a variety of different sources, right? I mean, this was at the Rock Nation offices. She was meeting Jay-Z's longtime friend, Emory Jones. If you have any familiarity with Jay-Z and Hove, you would know Emory's story. But I'll get into that at a later time.
I'm going to give a magazine to Beyonce, one to Blue Ivy, and one to Jay-Z.
Mm-hmm.
And all this stuff can be
the slam cover is cool.
My favorite player in the world right now. As soon as he called my sister and was like, JuJu, I was like, JuJu? I love JuJu.
Oh, thank you so much.
When I hit Jay, I was like, guess who coming today? JuJu. Like, JuJu, he tough. So I was like, big JuJu.
So Jay-Z, a big fan of JuJu as well, as she was being told there by Emory. And this is an interesting phenomenon, right? Because I said this on SiriusXM the other day, and a lot of callers were mad at me and didn't believe me. But I really believe this to be true. I think women's basketball on the collegiate level can actually surpass men's basketball on the collegiate level going forward. Not just that moment in time last year in March Madness. Of course, the Caitlin Clark effect, a big part of that. And the women last year, the national championship game did bigger numbers than the men's national championship game. And the Final Four as a whole did bigger numbers than the men's Final Four. So I expect that to drop off some without Caitlin Clark, but I think it has been lifted going forward. And part of that is because there's a next generation of stars. There's a new generation of stars to come in. I mean, look at the way that they're promoting the JuJu and Paige Bueckers matchup on Fox coming up December 21st. They're already promoting it now. December 21st is when that game is going to be. Promoting it now. And that's something that is missing in the men's college game. You know, what keeps March Madness special on the men's side? The fact that people have a bracket. And that's the habit that they've developed. And they go out there and they fill out their bracket, and that brings them interest. But beyond that, men's college basketball has lost almost everything that made it special before. Almost everything. Because there is no story to follow. There are no players to follow. Given the incentive is to go to the NBA so fast, obviously you get paid so much money. Why wouldn't you? You have the transfer portal, so players are bouncing around from team to team. You have the fact that international basketball, in many ways, is stronger than basketball here on the men's side of things, or at least is producing better prospects or equal prospects at worst, right? So all those things factor in. There's not to mention the legacy coaches are gone for the most part on the men's college side. I mean, I think that the Dan Hurley Lakers story is probably the only coach on that side who could make that sort of noise right now, outside of Izzo, who's been there forever. But there's no Coach K, of course, you know, and some of those Roy Williams, some of the legacy coaches have moved on. On the women's side, people know the coaches. You know, they know Gino, They know Dawn Staley. They know Kim Mulkey. And they'll be able to follow the players. Because Paige Bueckers is going to be the number 1 pick, most likely, in the WNBA draft next year. People are already talking about that, right? They're showing her at the last WNBA draft. She's pulling up. And now you probably got Washington Mystics fans, wondering about Paige being reunited with Aaliyah Edwards, right? That has to be something that they're thinking about, because I've been super impressed, and I'll probably do a video about Aaliyah Edwards at some point. But I've been super impressed with Aaliyah Edwards and her game so far as a rookie. And Paige is set to be that next number 1 pick. But people are going to remember her from last year and following her and seeing her and what she can do with Connecticut this year. And then there's JuJu, who's even young. I don't even think JuJu can go into the WNBA until 2027. So people are going to watch JuJu. I mean, she had the freshman scoring record. She's going to go after Caitlin Clark's records, right? And people will follow that story throughout her collegiate career. And they'll develop an attachment, which just doesn't happen on the men's side. So I don't know if it's necessarily going to be exactly what it was last year immediately, but I do think it's a real possibility that the women's game is bigger than the men's game collegiately eventually. And part of the reason is there are stars to follow, because for anybody who thinks this Caitlin Clark bubble is going to burst, you start to see Angel Reese becoming a bigger star, right? And you have the next wave of stars in Paige Bueckers and JuJu Watkins already on the way. Not to mention, more people are aware of the other players in the WNBA now, whether it be Asia Wilson or whomever. The game is growing, and it's fun to see happen. And I think it's only going to get bigger from here, because we're going to follow Caitlin Clark's career, and then people are going to follow Paige Bueckers from UConn into the WNBA, and then people are going to follow JuJu Watkins throughout her career at USC into the WNBA, and then of course other players will emerge. But I thought it was cool to see JuJu get that star treatment at the game and recognize that she already is a figure like that. So, this hype, this attention ain't going nowhere, because the next wave is coming. The next wave is coming. And Paige and JuJu, well, how do you say it in basketball terms? They got next.